Zach Lancaster joins us now, and again, Zach was one of the many people that were held up over at football with the kind of the delay before the media was allowed to videotape the 20 minutes they were going to be allowed to videotape, and so got to practice, got to the basketball practice, which went from 5 to 6:30, a little later than expected. Simple question, Zach. What'd you see?
I saw a team that, and it's you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt because we're still in August, but they held the open practice last year around the same time before they went to Europe. This team is light years ahead of where that team was a year ago in terms of physicality, in terms of athleticism, in terms of size, in terms of depth, in terms of leadership across the board, not just the seniors, but all the way down through the freshman class. Even though there was only a few hundred people there, the energy that surrounded the team with the fan base, it was exciting. I was only there for 15 or 20 minutes towards the end, but it was exciting. It's gonna be fun to watch this team moving forward.
I'm guessing Isaac Likely still he's not practicing.
No, he is not. No, he's
Okay.
they're holding him out.
All right. Then I'm going to surprise with the first player I'm going to ask about. What does your look like? Because when I look at your, we saw a guy last year that really at the end of the season, your was getting better and better every game, and it wasn't just defense and block shots. He was starting to show some offensive game, starting to get maybe a little bit more confident on that end of the floor. I'm going to guess that you're of the and obviously we appreciate Cam McGriff and Lindy Waters and Thomas DeZagua, and obviously Isaac Likely. We got a chance to see him a bunch in the international, uh, in the under 19 World Championship because those were all streamed and love what he's doing. But to me, your is a real key, and I got to think he looks even more fun, or he's even more fun to watch right now than he was toward the end of last season.
Yeah, he looks good. He's I would say the biggest key right now with your obviously he's in better shape than he was when he first came in, and that's kind of obvious. But like as you mentioned, towards the end of the year, he was getting better and better. That carried over. I mean, the kid is a lot more confident. I would say that the biggest takeaway about your is his confidence right now, and that's going to be. I agree with you. I think your is going to be a major. I mean, they've got a lot of really good players across the board, but Oklahoma State. I mean, how long has it been since they've had a consistent threat down low, and that's going to be your and A.
All right. With the Boone twins, with Keelan and Caleb, Caleb being the taller one, Keelan being the more the wing guy that can shoot on the outside, and then Chris Harris and Avery Anderson and Watson and all these guys that have come in. Um, if you thought the Cowboys had to play a game tomorrow and win,
Mm-hmm.
which of the newcomers would be the guy you would say, okay, he's going to be a big key in helping them win the game?
Marcus Watson, without
Yeah, okay.
hesitation. Marcus Watson, kid is 6'6". He came in as one of the more athletic players, more college-ready players in the 2019 class across the board, not just at Oklahoma State, but in the country. And he's only gotten better. And I know that if there's not a lot of full-on contact type of drills, but towards the end of practice, they were doing down and back drills, and Marcus Watson came up with a couple of passes on the defensive side, and it was like a dunk show on the other end. I mean, the kid can jump, the kid can shoot, the kid can steal. The kid can defend. Um, I'm not I'm not going as far as saying that he's going to be, he's going to be fantastic this year. But from what I've seen in the few practices that we've been allowed to be at this summer, it's Marcus Watson.
Another key too is, and I know you were only there 15, 20 minutes. You're probably going to have to base this question a little bit on just past experience, maybe what you've heard, so
Mm-hmm.
forth. But and I do believe the guys like Cam McGriff and Lindy and Thomas DeZagua, those guys invested so much of themselves into last year. They understand the importance of having reinforcements and guys come in and help them out because they know how hard it was last year when they were all the team had. Um, but how do you see the newcomers and particularly those three, because those are the three that Boynton always tags as the leaders. They're the ones that he wants to see have success because they're the ones that sacrificed the most in keeping the program going last year. What do you see the relationship between that trio and the newcomers? I mean, do you see? I mean, just when you look at them, not even when they're out there on the floor doing something, but maybe when they're off to the side drinking Gatorade, or, I mean, do you see relationships building? Because I think that's really important.
I do. They're always like when they're on the court, or when you've got a group of guys on the court and the other guys are under the baseline. You always see the guys interacting. No one's kind of off by themselves. I think that this young group has immersed themselves in Mike Boynton's program. And even though these guys, this is a really good recruiting class. Obviously, it's yet to be proven on the court at the college level, but at high school, these were the best players at their high school, the best players in the region. It's one of the better recruiting classes statistically in the country. But these guys, they aren't coming in like, listen, I was the best at my high school, and I don't need you to tell me where I need to be or what I need to do. If you're out there, some of the practices held in the auxiliary gym, you've got moments where Thomas DeZagua will, put his hands on a freshman and guide him around and say, listen, in this drill, you need to be here rather than here. And I know you mentioned those three, but even guys like Trey Reeves, I mean, all of them from the top of the senior list to the bottom of the freshman list, all these guys, and the newcomers coming in, Jonathan Laurent, Hitty, Rusink, those guys have all kind of meshed in, and this is going to be a pretty cohesive group. I'm looking forward to it.
Here's another thing that you have to consider as well. Recruiting, and there is no doubt Mike Boynton knows how to put on an event.
No doubt.
He knows how to put an event together and make it work for him toward recruiting. Last night, not only did he have the open practice, but I'm sure there was a surge of momentum when Cade Cunningham put out his final five, and Oklahoma State's in there with Florida and North Carolina, Kentucky. I'm trying to think who else was on there.
Washington.
Florida, North Carolina, Kentucky, and Washington. So that's a boost of momentum. And then you've got some of the better kids, including the stud player out of Booker T. Washington, Bryce Thompson, that's there. You got a pretty good group of recruits that are watching the event as well. Chalk it up to Mike Boynton knowing how to put the whole thing together.
Yeah, and this last night just goes to show the type of effort that Mike Boynton and his staff are putting into in-state recruiting. Because the four guys that were there, you had Bryce Thompson, obviously, out of Booker T, 5-star. He's one of the best players in the class. And then you got 4-star Rondell Walker out of Putnam City, Bien Cortez. And he's a 2021 class, but out of Kingfisher, he's a rising star. Jackson Robinson out of Ada. It was a solid group of in-state kids that Oklahoma State has a real chance at getting. And before you called, I had just read an article on CBS by Matt Norlander about Bryce Thompson. And there's some really, really good nuggets in there about Bryce Thompson and Cade Cunningham and their relationship and the relationship with Mike Boynton and how long Boynton has been recruiting those two. All of that, yeah, just goes into Boynton and him being a people person and knowing how to put on an event. You know, they weren't thousands of fans there, but the few hundred that were there, coupled with the fact that Coach Iba's son was there, and former players were there, and former trainers and managers, and it was a heck of an event. And we were standing around talking to us, you know, me and a couple other guys in the media, and you had hundreds of fans milling around on the court signing autographs, and right in the mix of them were those recruits next to the assistant coaches and just a little bit down from Boynton. So, the man knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and last thing, Zach Lancaster with us, used to be with Triple Play Sports Radio. You heard him every day, and also, you know, punch the buttons for this show. And now, you know, working with you know, Go Pokes and 247 Sports, gaining a lot of respect. In fact, I think the people at 247 like dealing with him more than they do me, which doesn't surprise me at all. Probably doesn't surprise Zach at all either. All right. When you look at this whole thing, and yeah, the thing that gets me is if you go back and look at Mike Boynton, he was a good recruiter. I mean, he brought players in to, you know, to South Carolina, and you know, and he was, you know, up there at Kansas State for a while, and then of course he was at Stephen F. Austin, and or was it Stephen F. or were they at Sam Houston?
Yeah, Stephen F.
Stephen F. That's what I heard. Yeah, the Lumberjacks. You know, but now where he's left, where he's in charge and he can make the plans, and you see what's going on here with this recruiting class and with some of these guys he's tapped into. And I know I hear it all the time. Well, he hired Cade Cunningham's brother to be, you know, so he could get Cade Cunningham. Well, you know what? Show me a coach out there in the country that wouldn't do that if he thought it would work. I mean, you know, we're gonna indict a guy for being smarter than the other guys. No, you never indict somebody for being smarter than the other guys. There weren't that many people griping and groaning when Larry Brown hired Danny Manning's dad, and next thing you know, Danny Manning's leading Kansas to a national championship. I mean, you know, so what? Larry Brown hired a truck driver to be an assistant coach. He got an All-American player in a national championship. That, to me, is smart hiring. So, I mean, when you look at all the things that Mike Boynton's doing, and you look at how he's obviously able to get the attention of these kids in a very positive way, are we talking about a guy that all of a sudden everybody's discovering is a super recruiter? I mean, a guy that is up there, and, you know, when you think about it in college basketball, there might be 12 to 15 to 18 coaches, head coaches, assistant coaches combined, that are in that super category that can go get the top 10 kids in each class. He's starting to look like he's going to be one of those guys.
I agree, and this 2020 class is gonna show that, because he signed at the time was close to a top 15 recruiting class when they signed in November, and then as they pieced it together and other schools started piecing it together, I think it finished at like 21, 22, or 23. This class, as soon as he signed in November, the 2019 class, he had already committed a 4-star point guard in the 2020 class before he had even finished the 2019 class. He has a really good chance of landing Cade Cunningham, the number 2 overall recruit in the country, who, before it's all said and done, is being predicted as being the number 1 overall recruit in the country. He has a really good chance of getting Bryce Thompson, a 5-star out of Tulsa. You take those 2 guys and you put them with the 4-star that's already committed, Devontae Davis out of Arkansas, and there's 2 or 3 more guys that there's obviously a limited number of spots, but there's 2 or 3 more guys in the 2020 class that are 4-stars or on the cusp of being 5-stars. Isaiah Todd, a 5-star, that are incredibly high on Oklahoma State and Mike Boynton. If you sign just if he's able to sign just two of those guys, then you're looking at a top 5, top 10 recruiting class easy. And yeah, I there's no doubt. I mean, Mike Boynton, we've got articles up on Go Pokes talking about 5-star 2021 kids that hasn't even reported an OSU offer yet, but yet Oklahoma State and Mike Boynton are talking to this kid all the time, and he's really high on Oklahoma State, and he's high on what they're doing and high on the program and the facilities. Mike Boynton is resurrecting Oklahoma State basketball, and we've seen success on the court in limited numbers. If he's able to take what they did last year in terms of just tenacity and willingness, and you put a solid group of freshmen and better sophomores in Yornay and Isaac Likely, and he's able to have success on the court, coupled with the fact that he can have success recruiting, Oklahoma State better get ready to pay up, because there's every athletic director in the country is going to be banging down Mike Holder's door trying to hire Mike Boynton.
Good point. And if Mike Boynton wants to maximize his opportunities, there's a second step to the process. And I'm not trying to cast dispersion that he can't accomplish the second step. But once you've gathered the foundation, once you've got the talent in the door, the next step is getting the talent to work together. And honestly, I look back on the first season, Mike Boynton's team should have been in the NCAA. I frankly think the committee screwed Oklahoma State over. Mm-hmm. Last year, Mike Boynton trying to milk everything he could do to get a competitive team, let some bad eggs in the door and paid for it. I mean, hey, when you're a coach, you're responsible for every guy you let in the building. And when some of them don't act right and some of them don't get it right, that's on you. So but that's fine. I thought the guys that he had on his team after that played their butts off, and at least I think Oklahoma State fans were able to come out of last basketball season certainly not happy with the results, but had to be proud of the way their kids played. Okay? Now you've got those kids who are the foundation. We talked about the trio, the older guys, and you got a really good group of young guys around them who you said everybody's getting along at the Gatorade bucket. So now the recruiting's looking really good, but now the job is to make sure the record looks good this year, and I really think Oklahoma State needs to get back into the NCAA tournament this year. So I would think that would be the mandate from a coaching sense for Mike Boynton this year.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm not saying that he doesn't know how to put together a product on the court that can win. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just like you said, the first year you had to deal with the investigations, and with all of that, and points of the season where you only had 6-7 guys that were able to play due to sickness or whatever, should have been in the NCAA tournament. They weren't. Made a really good run through the NIT last year. Horrible circumstances. If he can put together a good on the court performance this year, and I'm not saying he can't, but if he can figure that out, yeah, Mike Boynton, and he's already tabbed as one of the best up and coming college coaches, young college coaches. If he puts together success on the court, yeah, Oklahoma State needs to be willing to pay the man whatever he wants.
Well, again, appreciate your time, Zach, and you were over there yesterday with the members of the media that were able to get there in time after the slight delay on football video opportunity. And it sounds like any time you could get in there was worthwhile yesterday to see all the recruits, all the alums and the reunion people and the fans, not to mention the young pups and the veterans on the basketball team. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, man, not a problem anytime.